off. Nearly always, this is a circuit that provides brilliant racing, as we've seen down the years.
Yes, and one of the reasons I love it, the layout is fantastic, especially with the big machines, because it's one of the few circuits on the calendar that really lets the MotoGP machines stretch their legs. You know, you're using everything, you know, big, fast-flowing corners, but because there is no first gear turns, I say this every year, I've seen it since we came here with Superbikes years ago when I was working in that paddock, and because there's no slow corners leading onto long straights, it levels the playing field a little bit. You don't have to have the best accelerating motorcycle, meaning Fabio will have less of a disadvantage, for example. So it's one of the other reasons it has good racing, and I love it.
It's a real rider's circuit. I mean, an incredible start. On the last 8 visits here, we've had 8 different winners, which is mind-blowing, given just how competitive the MotoGP machines are, and given the state of play we see at the moment with the likes of Ducati, who, of course, have got a stranglehold on the championship. Pecco Bagnaia looking to break that streak, of course, this weekend. He leads the World Championship, we have to remind you. 35 points, his gap coming into this weekend. We're going to talk about the current championship picture in just a moment. Before that, though, let's touch on some of the big breaking news coming into this weekend. It was released yesterday, first at 10:30, that Franco Morbidelli would be leaving Yamaha, followed up an hour later that he's going to be replaced by Alex Rins. He had a 2-year contract with Honda. He's going to jump away from Honda a year early, meaning that in a space of 3 years, he'll have gone Suzuki, Honda, Yamaha, firstly on Rins. What an exciting signing that is for both Rins and Yamaha.
Yes, as I understand it, I was told that Alex and his manager had in the contract that although LCR Honda have an option on him for the second year, if he had an offer from a factory team, a manufacturer, so a factory team, he could leave to do that. That's a clever thing to put in that contract. And this is obviously a factory team, Yamaha. Look, the way I see it, Yamaha aren't in the best situation either at the moment, but the way I see it is, if Honda had made Alex feel like a factory rider, even though he was in the satellite team, it would have been a harder decision. But looking from the outside, everything I've seen, they haven't done that, you know. He's looked lonely and close to, I would even venture to say, ignored in that satellite team, even after his win, you know. And that's my gut feeling.
He said the same. He
Really?
said himself, speaking with our Spanish broadcast partners, DAZN, earlier on. It's only just come out this afternoon. He was speaking to DAZN and said pretty much along those lines of, I wasn't getting the factory parts that the guys at the Repsol Honda team, Marc Marquez and Joan Mir, were doing. I was pretty much ignored and left to my own devices.
Well, that is what I saw, and then the decision's so easy when a manufacturer comes to you and says, do you want to be our factory rider, you know? You've got to do it. When you're, you know, I rode in a satellite team, but it was on a Yamaha, and Yamaha made me feel like special, you know what I'm saying? When you get the result, they really appreciate it, and you felt that you weren't left out. And I think Alex has felt like that, and you've got to do it. Both manufacturers, I think, are going to improve next year. I really do. So, and that's including Yamaha. One more thing to add. I think that Lynn Jarvis is the boss there, you know, making the moves. I think it's an inspired move, and the one that I would have wanted to pull off if I was him. Congratulations.
That's what my next question was going to be. A good move for Alex? Is it a good move for Yamaha?
Yes, very. I mean, my only concern is that Alex has been through a lot with this injury, and even before the injury, I would say he's had a tough time. Yeah, he had that win in Austin, but people forget that he's basically otherwise going through what Joan Mir has gone through, you know, and that is not easy to come back from, plus the injury. He's going to need some help, support, you know, and a little bit of time to come back, but he's an absolute natural, like we've always seen, and he's back on a bike very similar, to the Suzuki, and he showed what he could do on that. Inspired by Lynn Jarvis, I look forward to see what happens.
Of course, Rins, the only man at this point in the season to have won a Grand Prix not on a Ducati. Of course, that famous win at the Circuit of the Americas. He won the final race of 2022 and at Phillip Island as well. He really has proven his worth over the past 12 months. As a result of Alex Rins moving in, Franco Morbidelli now without a seat. We did speak to him earlier, and he's confident he'll be remaining in MotoGP next year. Strong rumours linking him with a move to the VR46 Ducati squad. It seems on the outside like it's going to be a move that really could suit all three parties, Rins, Yamaha and Morbidelli.
Completely agree. If that last piece happens, meaning Franco Morbidelli gets the bike he needs, because he has the ability, it wasn't working at Yamaha overall, but I believe that if he gets on a good machine, we'll see him back. And I'm talking back on the podium, and confidence will build. And he got second in the World Championship, remember. He is a good rider. It just wasn't working where he is. I just don't know that it's going to be that easy to slot into the right team. I don't know what's going to happen. Hands up.
Yeah, the latest rumours at the moment from speaking within the paddock over the course of today is Morbidelli to VR46, Bezzecchi to Pramac, Zarco maybe to Grassini. The musical chairs are all in motion.
We've been
now.
wrong before. The rumours have been wrong before.
We have. They're just rumours, we have to say. But the first domino has fallen, meaning that there's going to be plenty to follow suit. We spoke about the big winners there, potentially Morbidelli being one of them, if that move is to happen. But you have to say, the big loser in all of this is Honda. To have lost a rider of Alex Rins' calibre, I mean, how can they have allowed that to happen? We spoke at the start of the season about what a fantastic rider lineup they have. Multiple Grand Prix wins with Marc Marquez, Joan Mir and Alex Rins. In a space of 6 months, how on earth have they allowed Rins to leave?
I just got to repeat what I said before, really. That's what it comes down to, is if you had that job, you would be looking after Alex, making him feel part of the family, supported, so he wanted to stay. And I don't think that happened. So they've only got themselves to blame, because especially when the bike isn't there at the moment, you need to make up for it and, make them feel like I said, part of the family, to want to stay. That hasn't happened, but I've got to repeat, if everything plays out like I believe, meaning the Japanese manufacturers get some concessions, help next year to come back, then they'll be in a very good seat, and they'll come back fast, because if you're allowed to develop the engine during the year, you're allowed to play with aero more during the year, you're allowed more tests, you're going to come back, especially if you're Honda and Yamaha. So you will, using that, you'll be able to convince your riders to stay, I think.
Of course, we should add an asterisk onto the end of that again, there's potential concessions for the Japanese manufacturers. Nothing official, nothing confirmed, all just paddock chatter at the moment. Right, we've spoken about 2024. Let's look at the current title picture then, because we need to go back a few weeks to remember what happened at the conclusion of the Dutch TT.
I'm glad there was a bit of a
I know, it helped me and everyone else as well. A dominant win for Pecco Bagnaia, an important one you felt like as well, given the form that Jorge Martin and prior to that Marco Bezzecchi were showing. We come into this weekend 35 points clear of Martin is Bagnaia now. Just how strong, just how comfortable do you think he will feel at the top of the championship at this current moment?
Well, the last couple of races I've been super impressed with Pecco. I think he's shown another level of, experience, of class. He's got everything together there right now. It was Germany that I decided, right, he's really moved to the next level, and he did the job again at Assen. He is the favourite, He's the most experienced of that group, and he's got the right machine, and he's using it. I've got to say, I've got to put it in the order of, I would say Pecco. It's a real tough choice between, I would say Brad Binder next. You know,
Okay.
I've loved what Brad's doing.
In terms of what are we?
Of the riding
Okay.
that I've seen out there, you know, that I know he's not in the championship, but then I would go the next two in the championship, and that's a tough choice between, you know, Martin and Bezecchi. Bezecchi's been so impressive, you know, with his less experience. A young guy with an older head on his shoulders, you know, as far as the racing goes. So, but without a big mistake, I think, and Pecco's looking less and less likely to make those, you know,
Yeah.
as time passes. He's going to take some stopping.
Absolutely, as he just walks into the press conference room here with a spring in his step, a smile on his face, the world champion. What do Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi have to do to try and make his life as difficult as possible?
I think, I mean, that's a difficult question, but I think racers always say this, and that is, you've got to do all of the work that weekend, put all the steps together to get the result, you know, and it's focusing on that, and it's not getting distracted by something, you know, and then you make a mistake and the weekend falls to bits, like in qualifying, what I've seen Jorge do, you know, and that's what it's about, really, is putting all the pieces together. So you qualify it right, you've got the info, you do the sprint race, build the knowledge again, and then nail the one that gives you the big points, the GP on Sunday.
Those are the three men we're going to hear first up in the first of two press conferences. Then in the second one, I'm very, very pleased to say that we're going to hear from Pol Espargaro as he makes his return to MotoGP this weekend after what's been such a difficult time for him. I mean, on a personal level, how pleased are you to see him get his opportunity back again? But how much of a challenge is it going to be for him this weekend?
Well, okay, I will answer the last question you said. It's going to be huge, you know. It is very difficult to come back from a massive injury like that, and the amount of time he's had off, where everyone else is polishing things and getting, you know, the experience, how to do the qualifying, the sprint. It's to come back in, you know, almost mid-season and with no experience. He hasn't even had a race under his belt. It's going to be very hard. You know, there's going to be race fitness levels, but as well as all the knowledge. I know he's got the team to tell him, but it's not the same as learning that, you know, by doing all season. So huge difficulty ahead of him, you know, huge task. I'm really happy to see him back because he's a lovely bloke, a fellow animal lover, he is, and he's brilliant in the press conferences, isn't he?
Yeah,
so I'm super happy to have him back.
He's a brilliant character. He's liked throughout the paddock, but you do get the sense that time is of the essence for Pol. KTM, or the Pira Mobility Group, in a pretty difficult position at the moment. During the summer break, Stefan Pira, the big boss of KTM, confirmed that Augusto Fernandez has had his contract extended to the end of next season, to 2024. It's already been confirmed that Pedro Acosta is making the move up. Pol Espargaro, he himself has a contract for 2024 as well, but that's 5 names and only 4 bikes. Something's got to give. We don't know what just yet.
And I don't think it has just yet.
Yeah.
I think they're still trying to make it work. You know, I genuinely think they're still working on trying to have all their riders on the grid. How? I don't know how that's possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. But time will tell. The Red Bull Ring, the Austrian Grand Prix, often a place where we get to hear some news, so stay tuned for that one. Right, coming up later on, a press conference where we'll hear from Pol Espargaro, plus Fabio Quartararo, Franco Morbidelli, Marc Marquez, and brand new Grand Prix race winner Jake Dixon ahead of his home Grand Prix. But we'll kick things off by talking about the championship picture. World champion Pecco Bagnaia, joined by his 2 closest rivals as things stand ahead of round 9 of 2023, Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi. As ever, Matt Burt to take you through our first of 2 press conferences here ahead of the Monster Energy British Grand Prix.